Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're back with another video. I had some time set aside for this week to knock out some more videos, some more tutorials. Mainly it's for me. I'm learning a lot. Some labs I have set aside that I want to get into. And then for today specifically, I learned how to set up a second domain controller to act as a failover to the first one. So DC1 and DC2. Essentially, if that one fails and the other one is still up, the server will be able to replicate the user data and everything else to the domain machines that's currently on the network. So with that being said, let's just get after it. It's gonna be pretty short, but it's gonna hit every step throughout the tutorial. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Throw it in the comments below. Please, if you do watch this video, let me get a like, a subscribe, or something like that. It's a new channel, but we're trying to get it up and going. I love doing this stuff, so I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Alright, let's go. Alright, so let's start by logging into the machine. This is the Windows Server 2019. This is going to be the DC2. Let's go ahead and log into that. Now that we're logged into the server and we got the server manager up, first thing we want to take a look at is the local server. I already did this previously, but I'll walk you through it and show you how I went about it. Alright, so starting with the Ethernet, we want to set a static IP just like we did on a DC1. We want to have a static IP for the domain controller. From what I was reading and from what I learned, that is one of the best practices to do. So as you can see here, it would be 10.0.0.3. And then we're going to go ahead and change the computer name. We're going to change that to DC2, so when it's on the domain, it's easier to identify. Alright, so first we're going to go ahead down here. We're going to pull up run, and then we're just going to pull up the network configuration, network connections, and then I change the IPv4 settings. As you can see, I'll just go ahead and change it, so we'll just make it 4 this time, so 10.0.0.4. And you got the subnet mask 255.255.255, default gateway, which is what we're going to leave it at. And then the DNS server down here, the preferred DNS server, that's going to be pointed at the DC1, just because we have the DNS server that is running on that server. Alright, cool. Before we go ahead and change the name, what I like to do is we'll just do the command prompt, and we'll go ahead and ping the server first, make sure that we have connection with the DNS server. Alright, looks like we do. Also, you could, well, before I do that, so as you can see, it's saying that we have communication with the 10.0.0.2, which is DC02. Before you do all that, you could also go ahead and verify that all your settings are correct by running ipconfig/all. That'll break down everything. As you can see at the bottom, this is all on a VM, so I'm not worried about any IP address or anything like that being out there. It's a closed network. But with that being said, as you can see down here at the bottom, you got the IPv4 we just set, which is 10.0.0.4, subnet mask, default gateway, and then the DNS server down here is what we want to take a look at. So with that, we'll go ahead and clear that out real quick, and then we also want to test out our DNS services, make sure that we're on the correct DNS server, which will just help us out later on. So we go ahead and run the ns lookup command. As you can see, it's already given us the default server that we are connected to, which is lab DC01. But we'll just go ahead, because we're here, we're going to take a look at the IP address, make sure that lookup zone is correct. And it is pointing, the IP address is pointing to lab DC01. And then we can also go ahead and do a reverse lookup. I believe it's reverse lookup. I would have to refresh on the terminology, but we could resolve the name to the IP address. So we just want to, so we're here, we might as well do it. Perfect. So the IP address resolves the name, and the name resolves the IP address. Go ahead and exit that. So next, real quick, we'll just go ahead and change the name of the PC. So as you can see here, don't worry about what group, I just put this in there before to get me out of the previous domain. But as you can see here, when you go to local server, this is the PC name. What we want to see, well, at least what helped me and what I'm assuming helps others, is to identify it as a DC, a domain controller. So you could also go to the run command, and there's another .cpl that you could run. Or you just go into this PC, properties. We're going to go ahead and go down to change settings. and you want to go to change to rename this computer or change its domain. You guys are probably familiar with this. As we did in the last video, we went here and joined the computer to the domain, just a workstation. But for today's, we're not going to use that because we're going to actually promote it to a domain controller, and then while doing that process, it will actually put us into the domain. So let's just do, what was the other one? Lab DC01. Sorry, let me just. We'll just do lab DC02. Okay. It is going to have us restart it, so we'll go ahead and restart that real quick. Hit restart now, and we'll be back when it comes up. Alright, now that we're logged back into this server, we're just going to go ahead and just verify all the settings are still correct. We'll go ahead and go to local server. We're going to check out the computer name, lab DC02. Then we're going to take a look at the Ethernet, the IP address down here, 10.0.0.4. We already verified the DNS settings. We verified IP address, verified the computer name, so that should be it. So next step, we want to go ahead and install some services or program features and add roles and features. Pretty much all this is going to be the same thing as the first video that we talked about, DC01, or when we set up the DC01. But I'll kind of walk through it briefly again, just because we're here, and for those that didn't see it. We'll go ahead and just skip over that. This is just some basic information about the adding roles and features wizard. We're going to stick to the role-based. This, you want to go ahead, since we only have one server on this, we're going to go ahead and select obviously lab DC02. There's the IP address. So here, this is where you want to select the features that you would like to install. So for today, the only thing that we're focusing obviously is installing that secondary domain controller to act as a failover if the first one were ever to go down. So we're just going to go to ADDS, or Active Directory Domain Services. This everything's going to install. We could also do like DHCP and DNS. But for now, that's what we're going to do is Active Directory Domain Services. I'm going to hit next. This talks about Azure. Hit next. We could select this, restart the destination server automatically if required. It's going to ask us to restart it anyway once we promote it, so we'll just go ahead and leave that like that. And just go ahead and click install. Shouldn't take long, we'll just go ahead and fast forward. Probably like 5 minutes or so. So the installation has completed. As you can see here, we can go ahead and promote the server to the domain controller. Well, usually what I do is just go ahead and hit close out of this. I'm not sure why I do that. Just go up to the top, and you have the same option right here. So just promote this server to a domain controller. I'm gonna go ahead and click that. It's gonna load up. So what we want to do here, since we are not configuring a new domain controller, and we are going to obviously add it to an existing domain, we're going to leave it on that first option right here. So add a domain controller to an existing domain. And here we're just going to go ahead and hit cyberme.local, which is the domain that I have created previously. It's going to ask for some user credentials. So what I figured out here, which helped me out, is that you want to, you obviously want to use the administrator account on the DC01. But when I did that, okay, that's just the domain. It's going to ask us for user credentials. It's going to give me an error. It says you must supply user account name. So what you want to do, you just go ahead and hit change. So with that, if you noticed, for whatever reason, I don't know why it doesn't, it's not very clear. Apply the credentials to perform this operation. But if you notice, it does lab DC02 administrator. Essentially, it's saying that we are using the admin account on lab DC2 to connect to the domain that is on lab DC01, which obviously they do not communicate right now as far as login permissions go. So we're going to go ahead and hit change, and then all you got to do here is just to we'll do the domain cyberme.local / and then we're just going to go ahead and put administrator. And now we just go ahead and next, and it should work just fine. I might have spelled it wrong. Hold on. I did. Cyberme.local. You go put the Mr. INS. Leave everything default just like this. We're gonna go ahead and put the password in for the admin account. I think I typed it in wrong. There we go. I just typed it in wrong several times. Go ahead and hit next. We're not going to update the DNS delegation. We're just going to go ahead and leave that alone for now. We're going to, we also have an option here. So it says specify additional replication options. So if we had multiple domain servers or domain controllers on this domain, from what I could tell is that we could pick each of those domains and instead of replicating from any of them, we could just pick a specific one. But we'll leave it at any. Go ahead and hit next. We're going to leave the default folders, obviously. That's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward from here. Just go ahead and hit next. That's going to talk about things. Going to do is prereq check again. Same thing as it did in the first video. And then once this is finished, we're just going to go ahead and hit next, hit install, and then hit run. And then we'll just fast forward to that point. Alright, so install complete. It pops up with this little dialog box saying you're about to be signed out. Because obviously it's going to restart after promoting it to a domain controller. So just go ahead and hit close. It'll automatically restart. There we go. I'll just fast forward when it comes back up. Alright, so we logged into DC02 after the restart, after promoting it to a domain controller. We immediately went over to local server and just to verify a few things. So from the top down, you can see obviously we still got the computer name lab DC02. Then we got the domain name. So now it's no longer a work group. We have joined the domain, so cyberme.local. And then we still obviously have these settings down here, IPv4. Which is 10.0.0.4, which is the static IP address we set in the beginning. So with that, we're going to go ahead and replicate some users. We're just going to add a user to the domain now on DC2, and we're going to watch it replicate to DC1, and then we're going to pull up a virtual workstation. We're going to log in with that user, and then we're also going to turn off DC01. With that off, then we're going to create a user on DC2, just to show that if the DC1 were ever to fail, we could log in with a new user that was created on DC2 after DC1 had failed. Just a good way to show that the failover works correctly. Alright, so let's get started. So we're going to go to the top. We're going to go ahead and go to Tools, Users and Computers. So we're going to go ahead and do a split screen here. So on the left, we got the DC1, which is the original one that we created in the first video. Then we got DC2, which is one we just created, the failover domain controller. So this is I believe I got the terminology right. So it is a intranet connection between the two DC servers, considering that it is in the same site. As you can see, we do not have sites and services installed over here on the left. On this one, obviously, we are just dealing with local domain controllers. And to my understanding, it is only 15 seconds. It seems to be even less. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and show that real quick. So we got Active Directory users and computers open. On the left, we want to go into the users OU, and we're just going to go ahead and go to new. I'm going to create a user, and we're just going to name this guy Chris. It's our good friend Chris, pretty cool guy, and then we're just going to make his username Chris. Go hit next. I'll put in a password. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that. Passwords do not match. I am all over the place today with these typos. Hit next. Finish. Alright, so what we can do is just wait. It says 15 seconds. I'm not sure if it's a little bit, if it's refreshing every 15 seconds, but either way, what you can do is go over here. Look, that was quicker than 15. Go over here, hit the refresh button up at the top, and you can see that it replicated from DC02 to DC01 with the user Chris. All right, now that we had the user Chris replicate from DC2 to DC1, we're just gonna go ahead and log in. This is the Windows 10 workstation that we had installed previously as well. So first, this is the one I was playing around with earlier. So if you want to join another user or log in with another user, you're just going to go down to other user. You're gonna verify you're still in the CyberMe domain. You obviously do not want to log into a local account. So we're just gonna go ahead. We said Chris, and we should log it in. There we are. So now we're just logged into the workstation, the Windows 10 workstation, with the username Chris that we created on DC2. So to close out this video, we're just gonna go ahead and power down DC1 real quick. So here's DC1 on the left side. So we're just gonna go ahead and power this bad boy down. Alright, so now we'll just verify that we no longer have communication with DC01, which was 10.0.0.2. Alright, so as you can see, we cannot no longer communicate with DC01. So any data replication will not be happening between the two servers. We'll just go ahead and X out of this for now. Alright, so now we're just going to create another user under the users OU. We'll name this guy, we'll name him Joe. Joe's pretty cool too. I like Joe. Same password. Cool. This actually happened to me earlier. Not exactly sure why. I don't know if it's because I just turned off the other server. So all I did last time was just let it kind of fail, close program. Opened up users and computers again, and you can see over here, for whatever reason, the Joe account was not enabled. Probably because it failed on that. So I just go ahead and hit enabled. Now Object Joe is enabled. I don't think it does it again. So if I go ahead and click another user, I don't think it does it every time now. I think it's just like that immediate shutdown. Yeah, I don't know, or maybe I just didn't wait long enough. But yeah, so I just created another user if we wanted to log in with that. But we're gonna go ahead and log in with Joe, just to prove that this failover worked out as planned. So here's the workstation. We're just gonna go ahead. I'll fast forward to me logging into to Joe. All right, so as you can see, we're logging into the Joe account right now. I would like to mention that I totally forgot. So DC1, when it went down, it had the DNS server. It was the only DNS server running, or that was configured for this particular machine, which was obviously leading to just problems with logging in with the new account that hasn't replicated over, or at least replicated over. So real quick, once this loads up, we'll just go ahead and I'll show you. I just pretty much just set it as a secondary DNS to the second domain controller, and then we were able to log in right away. But in order for me to do that, I had to obviously log into either a credential that was used previously on this domain on this machine. But you could also log into a administrator on the local account and change the network settings there. So once it loads up in a second, we'll just go ahead and change the secondary DNS settings. Alright, so here we are. So real quick, we're just going to go ahead and go to, again, we're going to go to run ncpa.cpl. It'll be the network connections. Go ahead and hit properties. This is not an admin account, so you're going to have to use an admin account on the domain. We're going to go to IPv4 again, properties, and then you can just see at the bottom. So what I had set previously was just the 10.0.0.2, which is the DC1 that we had taken down to show that the failover domain controller works. But with doing so, we no longer had a DNS server on this machine that was able to see that data. So we just went ahead and logged in with the different credentials, added the alternate DNS server for DC02, which is 10.0.0.4. and then we were able to log in immediately. It's just something to look out for when you go ahead and do this lab, or whatever the case may be. Alright, so with that being said, we're just going to go ahead and close out this video. I had fun doing this lab. I've been trying to do it for probably 2 weeks now. It's just something that I wanted to understand how it worked in the production environment. Obviously, there's probably going to be some changes to this outside of a lab environment. There's probably better practices than what I went over today. But this at least went over the overview of it, and now I have a better understanding of how it works, and I hope you do as well. So with that being said, never stop learning.